Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's webinar on Provision-ISR's VMS. My name is Ari Trigger, for those of you who don't know me. Over the next 60 minutes or so, we're going to look at some of Ossia VMS's software features and examine the enterprise hardware that complements our video management system. So regardless of your expertise in the field, my goal is to provide you with insights into the capabilities of the VMS. So let's begin. Firstly, it's important to understand we offer two different types of VMS, and let's go through both of them quickly. Number one is we offer a standard VMS, which we define as a standalone system. It's got standalone architecture, and let me explain to you who is it for, which will give you a better understanding of when to apply or when to use this standard VMS. So I'm going to give you a scenario. In the scenario, we're going to have a restaurant owner with one NVR at his restaurant, and he wants to view his cameras on his computer. So he loads PC clients on his computer. It's a very simple connection between NVR and VMS, and is only one user. It's a perfect scenario for standalone or standard VMS. Now, let's say things get slightly more complicated. Maybe he starts to grow and then expands and he buys another restaurant. Not a problem. He installs a Provision-ISR NVR at his second restaurant, and he adds the second NVR to his computer. And now he can view both restaurants off one computer. Cool. Later on down the line, he decides to buy a third restaurant. Also, not an issue. It's one user with three NVRs. Perfect. It's a perfect situation or scenario for a standalone standard software. The standalone system or standard software can handle up to 256 channels or cameras, and is completely license free. We offer the software both in PC and Mac versions, and it's right now available to download from our website for free. Now I want to take the same scenario but complicate it slightly. So we have our three restaurants, we have our one owner. Now the one owner decides he needs to hire management. He's got too many restaurants to manage by himself. So what is he going to do? He goes and buys and puts a computer into the second restaurant, and he needs to now add each of his existing NVRs from restaurants 1, 2, and 3 individually to that specific computer or PC client. And on top of that, he wants to be able to get access to his NVRs from either computer, and he wants to give his new manager, who he's just hired, access to either all systems from either computer. So what does he have to do? He has to go and create user accounts for each or at each client. Cool. Let's go and make it even slightly more complicated. He decides to hire a third manager. Now, as you can guess, what does he have to do? He has to go and individually configure each NVR now to the third client or the third computer. On top of that, he's got to go and create users on every single client for the new manager, and he's got to create user accounts for himself and the other manager on the new computer. So you can imagine as this goes on and on and on, things get slightly more complicated. And it gets even more complicated when you need to actually remove somebody's user profile. So let's just say he fires the manager at restaurant number 3. What does he have to do? You guessed it. He needs to go to every single computer, and he needs to remove the user from every single computer one by one by one. So, like I said, as the number of devices and clients and users increases, it gets much more complex to manage. This is why we have an enterprise version of the VMS with a slightly different architecture. With this architecture, we bring you server-client system or a server-client relationship. And it's important for you to understand how does a server-client system work. So let's take you back to the same scenario where we have 3 restaurants, 3 computers with our VMS enterprise or VMS client software, and we've got 3 managers or 3 users. This time, we're going to throw in a centralized management server. Now, when you need to add a new devices or add a device could be an NVR or a camera, to the system, all you need to do is you need to program the NVR or configure the NVR or device or camera to the management server once. Then the management server will update any client that connects to it automatically. Similar concept when it comes to adding users. All you need to do is add a user once to the management server. Whatever user permissions you've given will automatically be pushed through or updated on the connected clients automatically. So we have a centralized management server handling all devices and all users from a centralized location. Now, if you want to remove a user, very simple. The administrator jumps onto the management server or connects to the management server, and he removes the user once from the management server. And as you guessed it, the server will update all the clients connected to it. And that person will no longer have access to no matter which computer he tries to log into. So, due to this architecture, we can actually scale up our VMS to 10,000 cameras. It does require additional hardware, which I'll explain coming up. It is a license-based system, and I've got a graph or a page showing you how the licenses work. And we offer both server and client software in PC and Mac. And the enterprise has its own dedicated enterprise hardware, which I'm going to explain to you next. Okay, before I present to you the enterprise hardware, it's important to understand, what's important for me to tell you, that all our enterprise hardware is fully NDAA compliant and run off the operating system Linux. Let's kick off with our management servers. We offer 3 different types or 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. Each, as you can imagine, have different capacities in terms of how many cameras or channels and devices they can handle and how many clients can connect to them simultaneously. I do have a chart, comprehensive chart, explaining the differences between the small, medium, and large upcoming, so I'm not going to dwell on that right now. It is important to note that all our management servers that are compatible with firmware version 2.14 will have checkpoints embedded. Okay, so older versions won't have it, but all newer hardware models will have checkpoints embedded. It's also important to understand that each management server can act as its own client, meaning that if you're running a management server, for example, in medium, you could utilize the same hardware as a client to connect to itself. Keeping on the same topic, our small server can act as a dedicated client as well. Meaning when you set this up, you have the option to say, am I a server or am I a client? If you select the management server or the small server as a client, you could utilize this small server to connect to any management server. This is great for guys who want to keep control over their control room because, as explained, our system is Linux-based. It's a closed system. You cannot go on YouTube, TikTok, play solitaire, etc. It's a closed system. Once you boot up the PC and it's running as a client, all you can do is a client function. And also what's great about this is that don't be afraid of its compact size, but because it's Linux-based, we've geared up all the hardware, GPU, CPU, RAM, etc., to drive the software. So the performance in this little client or small server is tremendous. Next, we have storage servers. Our V2 model storage servers are also checkpoint embedded. All our storage servers have 16 trays for hard drives and are compatible with 10 terabytes or up to 10 terabyte hard drives per tray. So that's a total of 160 terabytes, offering redundancy with all different types of RAID support as well. Next, we've got our decoder and keyboard and joystick for TV walls. I have a full section dedicated to the specific topic, so I'm not going to dwell on this right now. And lastly, we offer transfer servers. A transfer server is required in order to scale up your management server's capacity in terms of how many devices and cameras it can handle. So if you recall on the previous page, I said that the enterprise solution can cater for up to 10,000 cameras or channels, and it was hardware dependent. This is the hardware that is dependent on. If you require to scale up, you would need to, in most cases, add in additional transfer servers in order to scale up the amount of channels and devices your management server can actually handle. and our transfer servers are also checkpoint embedded. Okay, on this slide, on this page, it's going to give you a great understanding of the differences between our standard standalone freeware version of Ossia VMS as well as our enterprise version. Let's begin with our standard standalone. When you download it from our website in Windows or Mac, you can connect up to 256 channels, of which 16 can be third-party, and also we offer you 256 device support, of which 16 can be third-party as well. Now, we often get questions about what's the differences between licensed channel and device support, so I've prepared an explanation for you. Let's look at an example on the far left-hand side. We connect an IP camera directly to the VMS. What actually happens in terms of the licenses? Because it's a camera direct connection, it is still considered a device, so it occupies one device license. And as you are viewing one channel through the camera, it will also occupy one channel license. The same logic and concept applies if you connect any device directly. When I say any device, I mean a camera, an intercom, a doorbell, etc., a singular device. If you connect an NVR, it works slightly differently. When you connect an NVR to the VMS, it occupies one device license because you're making one connection through the NVR to the VMS, so it occupies one device license. Now, the number of channel licenses is determined by the amount of channels or cameras you've connected to your NVR. I'll give you an example. Let's say you've connected a 64 channel NVR to your VMS, and you've only got 20 cameras connected to your NVR. What happens in terms of the licenses? The 64 channel NVR will occupy one device license, and the channel licenses will be occupied by the amount of cameras connected to your NVR, which is 20 in this case. The last thing I want to discuss about the standard or standalone VMS software is that it's compatible with our enterprise TV wall decoder. So you can set up a TV wall even with our freeware standalone software. Next, let's discuss our enterprise solution. Remember, it's a server-client relationship. So for this, I'm going to discuss the differences between our management servers. Remember, we've got small, medium, and large. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail here, but what I will do is explain the major differences. So now, as you can see with the small and medium, next to the license channels and device support, you'll see that I've written with an asterisk fixed. And with the large, I've written it's expandable. So therefore, what this means is if you buy a small or medium management server, it comes pre-licensed with 256 channels if you buy a small and 512 channels if you buy a medium. It's a fixed license, meaning you buy what you buy is what you get. So you can't buy a small server and request additional licenses. You can't buy a medium server and request less licenses. What you buy is what you get. You cannot expand. You cannot adjust the licenses. Okay. Also note the key differences between the small and the medium is that the small and medium are only compatible with our TV wall decoders, whereas the large is compatible with our TV wall decoder as well as our storage server and media transfer server. Why is it compatible with our media transfer server? Because if you recall, I said on the previous slide that our enterprise hardware can expand up to 10,000 channels, hardware dependent, and the media transfer server is the hardware that it's dependent on in order to scale up to that level. And we only offer an expandable license with our large server. Therefore, the media transfer server is only compatible with our large server with an expandable license. Now, let's just say you don't want to use one of our enterprise hardwares, small, medium, or large. That's not a problem. We do offer the server software in Windows form, where you can build your own server and purchase the Windows software from us. When you do that, it comes pre-licensed with 32, and then naturally you would pay per license channel, however many you need. Also, lastly, on this page, that when you build your own server, note that the decoder, storage server, and media transfer servers are all supported with our Windows Server software as well. Okay, this page is dedicated to the working modules that you would get when you download our client software. Now you can download obviously the standard as well as the enterprise client. So I just want to highlight some of the key differences. If you notice on the standard software, the only thing we're not providing you that you'll get with the enterprise is the last four, which is face greeting, face access control, visitor management, and LPR monitoring. Other than that, when you download the standard, you're pretty much getting every single module you would find within our enterprise client software. Also, I would like to point out there is no difference between our small, medium, and large. And even if you build your own Windows server, we give you all the modules. We don't limit you because you bought a small server. We want you to have all the modules. We want you to work with all our tools that we can give you when you utilize the enterprise client solution. Another thing is that we also don't charge you license fees if you want to add a TV wall decoder. We don't charge you license fees if you want to use an LPR channel. We don't charge you license fees if you want to use a face channel. If you want to install 200 face recognition cameras as well as 500 LPR cameras, be my guest. We don't charge you license fees for those specific functions. So what I'm trying to say is there are no hidden fees when you utilize our VMS software. Now that you understand what enterprise hardware we offer, let's look at it working in unison inside of a control room environment. So typically you would have your multiple systems connected to your VMS, either in the local LAN or outside the local LAN via the internet, that will connect to some sort of switch in a centralized location. Typically in the same centralized location, you would have your management servers, and if you got the need for transfer servers or storage servers, they would sit inside the centralized location as well. When it comes to the actual client software, these will be stationed by your control or your controller where they'll be operating the VMS. And if you recall, our small server can act as a dedicated client. So you could utilize our small server as a client, as a workstation, or you can download our client software from our website and you can put it on a Windows machine. Regardless, these PCs will typically sit where your controller is operating the VMS. When it comes to our TV wall, the decoder can either sit inside of a centralized server rack or behind the TV wall itself. But the decoder gives the control room the ability to view multiple cameras across multiple different monitors, and you can control it via the keyboard and joystick. So this is how our enterprise hardware works together to provide you with an holistic solution for control room environments or large-scale deployments. Okay, so now that you understand that Provision-ISR's Ossia VMS can provide you with a holistic solution for control room and for cameras, for up to thousands and thousands of cameras, I'd like to discuss with you a very interesting feature called management mode. Who is management mode for? So let's say you have multiple locations and different devices. However, you don't need to monitor them, but you'd like to manage them from one location, your VMS. I would like you to imagine you're a security manager overseeing multiple sites across various locations. However, your focus, like I said, isn't on monitoring events or live feeds, but purely centralized device and database management without the complexity of a control room or even transfer servers to handle video feeds from hundreds or thousands of devices. This is where our new feature comes in, called management mode. With management mode, you can effortlessly centralize and manage hundreds or thousands of devices and databases, ensuring smooth and efficient security operations across your sites without the need of excessive hardware, and you are not confined to bandwidth limitations. So in other words, our management service can operate in two modes. As you know, the VMS today, where you can monitor events, hundreds or thousands of live feeds, respond to alarms. That is what we call or define monitor mode. However, if you require just device management and don't need the complexity of a control room, you could switch the management server to management mode where you'll get this functionality. Let's look what happens when management mode is enabled. Firstly, it reduces the communication load on the VMS server, therefore there is no need for transfer server hardware. In management mode, the VMS server can connect up to 10,000 devices, but can only view a total of 16 live channels. Whether it's a single client or multiple clients, it can only view 16 live channels. All clients connected to the server in this mode are subject to these limitations, so just be aware of that. Also, in management mode, it enables the VMS to manage and sync faces and license plate databases with connected LPR cameras, NVRs, and access control devices like our intercom. You can also manage device settings such as OSD, image, audio, and even draw analytic rules in management mode. While the VMS users might see a large list of connected devices, most of these devices will appear offline or only sync online during live view or one-way synchronization of faces and licenses. Okay, let's move on to our client software, more specifically the GUI, the graphic user interface, and I've prepared a quick video so we can jump straight into it. I've highlighted some key features starting with the live view interface. On the left-hand side, you'll see a list of cameras connected to the system. Viewing any camera is super simple. Just select it and drag it and drop it onto the open canvas. And you're also not limited to cameras just from one site or one area either. You can view cameras from multiple different sites all at the same time by simply going and searching for that specific site or cameras, and once again dragging and dropping onto your viewing canvas. You can also choose from various default layouts, or if you prefer, you can customize your own layout. By entering the customization mode screen, you can set the size of the canvas. Once you've done that, you can merge blocks to create new viewing windows. And once you've configured all your viewing windows, you can save these custom layouts for future use. Directly from the live view, you can broadcast audio to any connected device that supports it. And the same logic applies to alarm outputs as well. You can activate alarm outputs on any connected device with alarm outputs. If you have analytics set up, you can enable the analytics detection area to display the rule lines on your live feed in real time. You can also switch or adjust the video resolution by switching between the mainstream, substream, or even third streams. You also have an option called self-adaptive stream, which I recommend you keep on, as the VMS will adjust the resolution based on the current hardware and bandwidth availability. Hovering over any of the channel gives you access to additional settings for that specific channel. So for example, you can close the stream, you can manually start and stop recordings, you can take snapshots, you can enable audio, you can activate two-way audio if the camera is compatible, you can digitally zoom, you can get PTZ control, and one of the more powerful features is that you can access the camera settings directly from the live view, where you can adjust OSD settings, you can play with the image settings or adjust the image settings. You can even draw or edit your analytic rules, all without leaving the VMS interface. Now let's go back to live view. We've also got a smart snapshot feature that shows a timeline of ongoing AI events across your currently viewed cameras. So this is similar to the NVR for those of you who are familiar with our NVR. And also, if you've got face recognition or LPR recognition cameras set up, we can also view comparisons of results in real time directly from your live view window as well. If needed, you can close all streams at once. Let's move over to group channel settings. I've already created a few groups to show you, but if you remember the old sequential switching between channels, it's the same concept. You can create multiple groups, add any combination of cameras to a group, and have them switch automatically based on set timing intervals. So for example, on the top left window is switching between cameras in subgroup 1, and the bottom left window is switching between cameras of subgroup 2. You can even patrol groups where you can switch between entire groups after specific intervals. So now it's switched from subgroup 1 to all cameras in subgroup 2. Another great feature for monitoring events is the alarm views pop-ups, which you can set alarms to pop up in a dedicated alarm view in response to any alarm type, be it a motion detection, analytics events, or even a health monitoring event. Also, on top of this, if your client PC setup includes multiple monitors, you can even configure the alarm view to pop up on a secondary screen. That way, the operator can continue working on the primary monitor without interruptions while the alarm events appear separately for a quick response. So right now, I've configured random cameras to pop up on my alarm view whenever there's motion. I trust this showcases the versatility of the VMS, and we've only looked at one feature so far, one module so far, which is Live View. Now I would like to turn our attention to a really important topic, which is device management. Just so you are aware, we can connect devices across the local area network, which is the LAN, or a wide area network, which is the WAN, that extends connections from outside your local network using the internet. However, I would like to focus more specifically on connecting devices from outside the local network. It's important to understand that we offer 5 different ways to do this. Number 1 is using a public or static IP address. Number 2 is through Provision-ISR's own cloud server. Number 3 is setting up a DDNS URL. Number 4 is through an RTSP stream. And finally, through our own special protocol called auto-report. For those of you unfamiliar with it, Provision-ISR developed its own protocol called auto-report, where the device reports its status to the VMS management server, and it comes with some amazing cost-saving and time-saving advantage. I would like to spend a few minutes looking into why auto-report is such a game-changer for us. Firstly, let's look at scenarios without auto-report. Traditionally, connecting remote devices meant that you had to configure each device manually, both on the device and on the router where the device is installed. This often required purchasing a public static IP address, which, as you know, costs a monthly fee. Alternatively, you could use Provision-ISR's cloud servers via the device's serial number, which, to be fair, has an excellent uptime, but when dealing with critical control rooms, relying too much on the third-party services may not be ideal. Using DDNS is also reliant on third-party services and requires a lot of programming, both on the server side and on the device. Or RTSP is another option, but it limits you to receiving just video and audio, and you won't get any alarm events coming from our cameras. Importantly, unless you're using Provision-ISR's cloud server, port forwarding is necessary on every single router you install a device. And as you're aware, port forwarding brings its very own headaches. It's often a tedious and confusing task. Clients frequently don't know their router login credentials. If the client ever changes their router, they usually don't inform you. And once this happens, all port forwarding settings are wiped, which breaks the connection to the VMS. And this obviously leads to a lot of post-installation maintenance and little control over whether your system stays properly connected. After this is all configured, you still need to input the credentials into the VMS as well, so it knows to communicate with the device once the device comes online. Auto-report completely changes the way the devices connect to the VMS. The major advantage here is that no router configuration is needed on the device side whatsoever. Setup only needs to happen once on the router where your management server is located. All you require is a single public static IP address or a DDNS server address linked to the server's location. Once that's in place, you simply input the router's public IP or DDNS address into each device along with the management server's port number and assign each device with a unique ID number. When a device comes online, it automatically reports to the server saying, "Hey, Mr. Management Server, you asked me to report to you. Here I am. my name is device ID number 10, what do you want to do with me? This ultimately means that the management server no longer needs to worry about the device's local IP address, firewall rules, or any special network configurations. In essence, we're reversing the roles. As soon as the device has internet connectivity, it will automatically report itself to the management server. To make it even clearer, let's take a look at a short video where I'll show you the practical examples of how easy auto-report is to set up, along with some useful time-saving tips. Let's start on the device side. Remember, a device can be an NVR, can be an IP camera, can be a doorbell, can be an intercom. In this example, I'm using an IP camera. First, locate the auto-report setup menu, and depending on the device, it will either be under the integrations menu or within the network settings. Once you find it, simply enable auto-report. Then input the router's credentials. This means entering either the public static IP address or the DDNS address of the router. Once you've done that, you can enter the management server's port number and assign the device with a unique ID. In this case, we'll use device ID number 10. And just like that, the device side setup is now complete. Next, let's move on to the VMS so we can add the device via auto-report. In the resource management section, click on Add and you'll see two auto-report options. Unbound auto-report as well as auto-report. Let's go through both, starting with unbound auto-report device. So unbound auto-report will show all devices that have been configured to report themselves to the VMS server but have not been added yet. You can see device ID number 10 is listed there, the one we've just configured. So to add it, simply select the device and choose the transfer server and storage server it should be linked to. You can assign it to an existing area within your VMS, or if the area doesn't exist yet, you can create a new one. And then ensure you've entered the device's password. Once this is all done, hit OK. You'll see the device will then be added to the resource management list as offline and will automatically come online within a few seconds. Now let's talk about one of the biggest time-saving advantages auto-report brings. A standout feature is the ability to bind a range of devices all at once. It's perfect for deploying multiple units across different sites. For example, if you have 5 devices that need to be installed at 5 separate locations, you can pre-configure them at your office to auto-report to the VMS. Once that's done, simply pack them up and hand them over to your installer to install on site. And I want to show you how it works on the VMS side. We're going to head over to Add Devices again. And this time, I want you to select Auto Report. In this menu, you can add a range of devices. So let's say you've pre-configured devices with IDs 11 to 15. Just input that range, enter the password assuming it's all the same for all devices. Assign the appropriate transfer and storage servers, and select where the area you want them to appear in the VMS. Once confirmed, the devices will be added to the system and appear as offline. Then, whenever these devices connect to the internet, whether it's in an hour, a month, or even a year later, they will automatically come online one by one by one, without any additional configuration needed. I hope that made everything clear and easy to understand. I would love to jump onto the next topic. Let's dive into eMaps, an incredible tool that takes operational efficiency and security to the next level with its visual map-based approach. With eMaps, you can create layered maps using Google Maps or your own images, then drop your cameras right onto the map to mirror their real-world locations. In the VMS, we offer 2 powerful uses for eMaps. First, it's perfect for live monitoring. You'll get real-time pop-up alerts based on specific alarm types keeping you on top of everything as they happen. Second, it's an awesome post-event tool, allowing you to dive into events like tracking individuals through face detection or recognition. EMAP covers both live action and detailed event analysis. I would like to take a closer look at how this works in action. For the first example, we're going to use live EMAP monitoring. And for this, I've set up an EMAP for Barbados, layering in the country, the city being Kingston, and even a specific street, King William Street. I've placed several LPR cameras along the street and set up notifications to pop up only when a blacklisted vehicle is detected. In another case, I've combined Google Maps with a site plan for a school, placing face recognition cameras at the entrance and exits. When using EMAPs for live monitoring, there are awesome features that you can enable. For example, auto alarm view. The live video will automatically pop up from the camera that just triggered the alarm. If multiple alarms are triggered, when you close one of the streams, the system queues them and will automatically jump to the next alarm. The EMAP can instantly zoom in on the area where the alarm has also happened, making it easy to see what is going on by enabling switch to alarm EMAP. You can also double click on any event to instantly pull up the live feed from that camera. And the best part is you can filter alarms to show exactly what matters to you. So for example, I've set here the EMAP to only show alarms for face detection, face matching, or blacklisted individuals, and ignore all other alarms. That means you can only see what is critical to you, saving you time and keeping you focused. Let's talk about how we can track people effectively using face detection and recognition analytics in combination with EMAPs. To start, we'll navigate to search by face within the VMS. From there, we'll choose the NVR location where the event occurred. Then we can begin by selecting a target picture. The VMS will then search for all events that match the target image based on recognition results. And there are several ways to upload a target image. Firstly, we can import a face directly from our PC by selecting a file from the file directory. We can also choose a snapshot from any face detection event captured by devices that are on our VMS system. And alternatively, we can select a picture from an existing database group. Once the target picture is selected, we hit search and the system will return multiple results, based on the face recognition comparison. Now let's see how we could use the search results to track this person on the map. I've already pre-configured an EMAP, placing the cameras as if they were on location. With this setup, we have a couple of tracking options. Firstly, we can track line playback. This option shows step-by-step visually representing which camera detected the person, giving us a clear view of their path across the area. Alternatively, we can track playback. This option will play search results in chronological order. These features allow us to easily track the person's movements across a mapped area, providing both a visual timeline and a map-based overview of where the person has been detected. Let's move on to our next topic. Did you know that Provision-ISR supports advanced object counting analytics? Whether it's humans, 4 or 2-wheel vehicles, our system can count them all using object recognition based on line crossing detection. Using the Ossia VMS, one of the most powerful applications is occupancy control. With one or more cameras, the VMS can track and aggregate the number of objects entering or exiting an area. You can even set limits on how many objects are allowed in a space at once, define triggers for when those limits are exceeded, and even receive visual alerts in real time. This is ideal for use cases like bars, nightclub, or parking lots, where controlling or monitoring flow is critical. But we don't stop there. The VMS can also aggregate both real-time and historical reports from any camera with object counting enabled. For instance, if you have a client with an advertising billboard, you can provide them with detailed reports on how many people or vehicles pass by, turning basic footage into powerful marketing insights. Retail stores can also benefit from counting foot traffic across multiple entrance and exits. Over time, they can analyze peak periods, identifying the busiest days and times of the month, so they can plan staffing more efficiently. Now, let's take a quick look at a demo video showing how to set up occupancy control and how to generate these insightful reports. Let's begin by creating a new task for occupancy control. What you see here are existing tasks that are running on the VMS. Click on the plus add task button to begin adding a new task. You can provide the task with a logical name, set a maximum threshold of objects, and then you can decide what object am I counting. Am I counting human? Am I counting vehicle or motorcycle or bicycle? And then set a schedule for when you want the VMS to count, and then select which cameras are doing the actual counting for this task. Once you've pushed OK, it will add the new task to the existing task list. And then if you want to preview or view it in real time, click on the preview button and it will bring up all the live imaging or all the live cameras in real time. For this tutorial or for this example, I've obviously fast forwarded the video. And as you can see, the VMS is aggregating the amount of people coming in and out of multiple entrances and exits. When the limit is exceeded, which was 10, we get a visual alert. And on top of this, you can set up additional triggers. Also note that the VMS does not stop counting even though the limits are exceeded. It carries on counting to provide you a real-time current occupancy. Now let's look at real-time statistics. In order to do this, we can go to Object Counting module. And by default, it takes us to real-time statistics. We can select the specific video point where we want to retrieve the statistics. And then we can select how often do we want the real-time stats to update. And we can decide if we want to view human passage flow or vehicle. And we can also do comparisons against previous periods. Now, I'm not going to bore you with looking at the stats, but basically you can adjust and change how you view the stats in real time from different graphs, from different time periods. And if you scroll down, which I'll fast forward a little bit, it'll give you other insightful information. And remember, this is all real-time statistics. Any stat that you see here, any graph that you see, you're able to export very easily. Okay. If you want to pull historical data, we can go to statistic reports. From here, once again, you can choose your video points or where do you want to pull the information from. Once you've done that, you can again select what object am I pulling the stats for, human, vehicle, or two-wheel vehicle. And then you can decide, do I want a daily report, a weekly, monthly, or annual report? Depending on what you selected, you'll set your time period, and then you'll hit search, and you can bring up historical information. Apologies. And once again, also, you have different graphs and different information that you could change in order to view. But most importantly, you can export this information. So these are just some examples of exports that we did. So this is real-time stats that you could see. Also real-time stats, the graphs that are pulled. And then here are some statistic reports. Apologies. Historical data, statistic reports that you can pull as well. Great. Let's move on. Let's spend a bit of time talking about our TV wall decoders. So Provision-ISR TV wall decoders are designed to streamline your surveillance operations by taking the most resource-intensive task off the client's plate. This allows the client to focus on critical CCTV functions like event handling, playback, and managing alarms without being bogged down by processing demands. With the ability to display multiple camera feeds simultaneously across a series of screens, these decoders are ideal solutions for high-demand environments such as security control rooms, large facilities, shopping centers, public spaces, housing estates, and to be honest, pretty much anywhere where there's a need to display a high number of cameras on many monitors. Our decoders come equipped with 4 HDMI outputs and also 1 HDMI input. The HDMI input is especially useful when integrating third-party software. Take, for example, vehicle tracking systems running on a computer, which can be displayed directly on the TV wall. Each decoder also supports up to 256 channels across the 4 monitors, and if that's not enough, no worries. We do support decoder stacking, allowing you to expand both the number of HDMI outputs for more monitors and the total number of channels displayed. Let's look at configuration of the TV wall. So setting up and customizing your TV wall could honestly not be easier with the Ossia VMS client software. You start with blank canvas, giving you full control to define the size and number of viewing windows within each layout. These canvases aren't limited to a single HDMI output. They can span across multiple outputs if required. On top of that, you decide how each viewing window is configured. I'll give you some examples. You could set windows to be live view only. Windows can do playback. All windows can be alarm views. So let's discuss alarm views a bit more. This is particularly useful for black screen monitoring, where monitors remain off until a specific event occurs, at which point the system reacts by displaying a live feed on your TV wall. I've prepared a video to show you just how interactive and easy it is to operate our TV wall. Bearing in mind that I've already added the decoder to my enterprise VMS, I want to show you how to build your TV wall layout. I've also tried my best to superimpose the actual TV wall in the bottom left corner of the screen so that you can see in real time how the software interacts with the TV wall itself. Towards the bottom middle of the screen, you're going to see a new canvas button. Once clicked, it allows you to draw a canvas of any size. To keep things simple, let's start by creating a canvas that's confined to a singular HDMI output. So we can create 4. After this, we can decide how many viewing windows we want to split the canvas into. Remember, each canvas can be customized individually. Once the layout is set, we can drag and drop any camera from the VMS into these windows. It's similar or the same concept to live view, which I showed you earlier. I want you to watch as I drag an entire NVR or individual camera onto the TV wall and see how everything populates in real time. You might also notice that I've got devices and cameras from multiple areas within my VMS displaying all at once. And also, as I mentioned earlier, canvases aren't limited to a single output. We can move canvases around, we can close them entirely. We can even stretch them across multiple screens. So for example, I've now stretched the bottom 2 monitors to give us a great 180-degree single camera view. You can also change the layout of any existing canvas at any time. Remember, I told you that you can configure each viewing window to however you like. So let's start with alarm view. Just right click on any viewing window to change its type. So we can set it as an alarm view. Let's set all of them as alarm views. And then I've already configured an alarm linkage. So when motion is detected on specific cameras, the system automatically will pop up with the live feeds on the TV wall. I also want you to notice that these live feeds stay on the screen for 5 seconds and then disappear. You can customize this if you want. If you want it to stay on longer, if you want to manually close it, you can customize it. But what you see now is the exact process happening in real time. That's me when I was filming it. I'll give a wave to the camera. And remember, you can also set a window to be playback as well. So you'll notice there's a playback button, click it, and the active window will switch to playback view automatically. Once that's done, you can select a camera you'd like to review or play back, and the timeline will appear at the bottom. If you like, you can also enlarge the playback window to a full screen, and then you can jump to any point in the timeline just like any standard playback. Very similar to channel group switching, you can build multiple TV wall plans. So I've got 3 plans built. Once they've created, the system can actually patrol between them, automatically switching layout at any timing or at time intervals that you define. So right now, I've got 3 TV wall plans set up, and the VMS is rotating between them automatically every few seconds. And finally, you can also create camera groups with any sequence of cameras across the VMS. You can assign that group to a single viewing window on the TV wall, and the cameras will cycle through automatically, one after another, within that specific window. So this is also similar to what I showed you on live view within a singular window. I hope this gave you a useful demonstration of just how interactive and user-friendly and responsive our TV wall setup really is. I would like to move on to one of the most important topics, which is alarm linkage. Setting up your alarm linkage is crucial to the overall effectiveness of your VMS experience, especially if you're planning to monitor alarm types such as analytic triggers, motion detection, or even system health events. We offer you multiple response options, in fact, 10 different trigger actions, all of which can be customized per alarm type. I would like you to picture this setup. Below the management server, you have your NVRs and your cameras, which are typically deployed on a site. Above the management server is your VMS client and TV wall, which is typically monitored and operated by controllers responding to events. In response to any event from any device connected to the VMS, you can trigger the following. You can move any PTZ to a specific preset. You could trigger alarm outputs from any connected NVR or camera with an alarm output. You can play an audible buzzer on the VMS client computer. Also on the VMS client computer, you can pop up an alarm view. And as shown earlier, you can pop up an alarm view on your TV wall as well. You can send an email notification to one or multiple recipients. You can capture screenshots from one or more cameras. You can request to begin recording on multiple cameras. And finally, you can activate a standard operating procedure or SOP. Given the significance of SOPs and the feedback we get from our clients, I would like to take a moment to explain how they can help streamline operations for any operator in any environment. So implementing SOPs for VMS offers numerous advantages. So firstly, SOPs ensures consistency in your response to events. They can streamline operations for increased efficiency, and probably crucially, they simplify staff training with clear procedures. I've prepared a short video showcasing how to set up an SOP and link it to an alarm type. And then I'm going to take you into the shoes of an operator and respond to that alarm type with a linked SOP. Let's begin by creating a new SOP. And to find SOPs, locate the alarm center and then alarm settings. And on the left-hand side, there's SOP settings. Any existing SOPs will appear here. And to create new SOPs, click Add. Give the SOP a logical name. So let's pretend we're going to be responding to events on a dairy farm. Once we've created the SOP, we can now begin creating action items. Now you can create hundreds or thousands of SOPs and hundreds or thousands of action items. I'm pretty sure you're not going to run out of the amount of SOPs and action items you can actually create. So once you've created your action items for the dairy farm SOP, it's now time to go link that SOP to a specific alarm type and a specific camera or cameras. So go to the alarm linkage, and we're going to go link them to the line crossing alarm detection type, specifically for the settlement sites. So all cameras on the settlement site with line crossing, we want to enable the dairy farm SOP we've just created. So we're going to select it and push it on. Don't forget to turn on the schedule. To make it more authentic, I'm going to enable alarm view pop-ups as well. So in the event there is a line crossing detection on any one of these cameras, I want a live or alarm view pop-up with a live view, as well as an SOP for my operator to handle. Now, great, all set up. Your operator is just going about his day, and then all of a sudden we get a line crossing detection on one of the settlement site cameras. What happens is he gets a live pop-up with the camera that's detected the line crossing, and from here he can begin handling the alarm or processing the alarm. So he clicks on the bottom right button and it brings up all the alarms coming through on the VMS. Now, as you can see, this is an unmanageable amount of alarms that he needs to process. So what we've done is we've created an SOP filter. When you click it, it only displays alarms that have come through to your VMS that have got SOPs assigned to them. This way, you're basically telling your operator to only focus on specific alarm types and ignore everything else. Because once the SOP filter is enabled, he's got only 2, in this case, alarms that he needs to process instead of over 700. Now, in order to begin processing, he can first of all go to device playback and he can review what's occurred. Once he's happy with the review, he can begin processing the alarm. So now I want you to notice when he begins processing the alarm, all the action items that we've just created for the dairy farm SOP will appear to him. When he starts handling any of the actions, he can actually tick them. Once he ticks them, they get timestamped when he actually ticked them. And when he saves the progress, and it forces the person to save the progress, a timestamp which user saved or handled the alarm, and then he can give the alarm a disposition. Is it a false alarm? Is it a true alarm? Is it a customer test? And then he can perhaps give a description or a remark with the description. So the suspect was on a horse, he was wearing a hat, etc. Once the alarm is processed, it goes white, and it says it's been handled or processed. If he tries to go back into the alarm, he can't change anything. It's locked. So I hope this demonstrates how effective an SOP can be, especially in combination with other triggers within the VMS. Let's discuss another important topic, which is user permission management. User permissions is also another way for you to be in control of your VMS as you can add multiple different roles or create different roles, and within each role you can set specific permissions. The permissions are related to menu permissions, operational permissions, as well as site-specific permissions. Once you have created a role and set your permissions, you can either add existing users to that role, or you can create a completely new user and add them to that role. When you create a new user, firstly, you give them a unique username and password. And secondly, you can set a schedule as to when they are able to access the VMS client. So anytime they try access the VMS client outside of the schedule, they'll be denied. And you can even set up a MAC address. So in combination with the schedule, the user has to be on a specific device in a specific time period in order to get access to the VMS client. I want to show you how simple this is with a quick video. We're going to look at the process from beginning to end. Let's start by finding the user account settings, which is located under the configuration management modules. Select user and roles. Once you've entered, any existing role will be listed on the left-hand side. By default, there's always a super administrator account, and any roles listed below are the ones we've created manually. When you select a role, you'll be able to see all the permissions assigned to it, and you can go deeper by viewing all users assigned to it as well. For example, if we go look at the INT tech role, we'll see exactly which users are linked to it. All permissions assigned to that role will automatically apply to those users, making user management very straightforward. Now, when creating a new role, the first step is to give it a logical and clear name. From there, you can begin setting the permissions that define what users in this role are allowed to do. These permissions can range from broad access to very specific functions and are broken down between or into menu permissions and operational permissions. You can allow full access to all areas of the system, or you can drill down to assign access to specific cameras and features depending on the level of control required. However, once the role is created, it will appear on the left-hand side along other roles. After setting up the role, you can either assign an existing user to it or create a new user from scratch. When creating a new user, you'll need to enter a name and a password, and then choose the role this user should belong to. I want you to know any role that we've created manually is an option for you to assign this user to. And there you can see the Tel Aviv branch we've just created. Below that, you have the option to apply a default access schedule or create a custom schedule tailored to that user. Additionally, there's the option to bind the account to a specific MAC address if needed. Once the user is created and assigned, for example, to the Tel Aviv branch, they will follow the exact permissions defined by that role and will only gain access within the assigned schedule and device if bound device by MAC address has been set up. I hope you found that straightforward, and let's move on to one of the last topics. One of the most annoying things as an installer is you're in the middle of a huge project and you get a phone call from your client begging you to come past and retrieve footage for them because they don't know how to, because they've had an incident. Well, with the VMS, we make life extremely simple for you and efficient for you. We give you the ability through the VMS to back up footage on a remote site. All the client needs to do is stick in a USB flash disk into his NVR, and on the VMS, we can go and select a specific camera, date and time, and instead of backing up locally on your computer, there's an option to select backup on device. If you select that, the VMS will back up the footage onto the USB flash disk, which is inserted in the client's NVR. There's no need to run to site anymore. Now, onto our last topic. The majority of the features I've just demonstrated, and many more, can actually be showcased in a single elegant dashboard interface. Let's get straight into how to build your own dashboard. We're going to build our own dashboard from scratch. From the home page, click on Intelligent Dashboard, and you'll be presented with a blank canvas. To begin, click on the Create button. This is where you'll start populating your dashboard, and we provide you with a wide range of modules for you to choose from, including basic modules, face recognition, e-mapping, smart snapshots. Each one occupies specific amounts of space on the dashboard canvas, and each one comes with its own configurable settings. Let's take a look at Smart Snapshot module as an example. You can choose what type of Smart Snapshots you want to display, such as face detection, object detection, or license plate recognition. And you can even specify from which devices will actually feed these snapshots into your dashboard. When it comes to parking lot management, the LPR monitoring module gives you real-time overview, and you can select which parking areas to monitor and see right from the dashboard how many spaces are available at any given time. Once you've placed your modules and configured them, your dashboard starts to come to life. You can even make it full screen, making it ideal for large displays in control rooms. And it's fully interactive too. Just like I showed you earlier with live EMAP monitoring, you can configure auto alarm views, switch to EMAP settings. You can even close alarm views as well, and decide which alarms will activate on your EMAP. You can also interact directly with the snapshots or smart snapshots. You can review them in real time. You can even jump to playback footage instantly. At a glance, you can view real-time available parking spaces in specific parking lots, face statistics, and even health monitoring information, such as the number of devices currently online and offline. The dashboard becomes a powerful, centralized visual tool that complements the client software perfectly. That brings us to the end of the VMS seminar. I hope you found it informative and that it gave you some invaluable insights into the capabilities of the Ossia VMS. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to having you join me in future webinars. Please take care and goodbye.